Hi, thanks for watching. Last week, Ellen and I took a wee road trip, then we took a wee boat trip, and we went to see Staffa. Staffa is known as Scotland's giant's Causeway, and there are legendary connections between Staffa and Northern Ireland, mainly through two giants. In Scotland we had Benadonna, and in Ireland we had Finn McCool, both giant warriors apparently. And this island, the cave on the island is named after Finn McCool through some poet. But the actual columns themselves on this island, they look as if they're in between layers or something. And to me the bottom layer looks like sandstone, which means that cave here, where you have no access to, I would imagine has sandstone walls and probably a fancy ceiling. Now we'll have a look at this island shortly, but first I'd like to take the mainstream narrative off the table. For example, what they say about these columns you're looking at, these are volcanic rock columns. Right, so how does that work then? Because this is the way lava behaves. So I'm not seeing vertical columns for this. And you can see quite clearly as it cools down, it just hardens in to the shape it was when it was white hot. So I'm finding it hard to see the columns. Of course, this is probably the only way you'll see lava in vertical columns, and they are certainly not hexagonal. This is the Devil's Tower in Wyoming, probably the most famous of all the vertical hexagonal columns. And this is it from above, and you can see they're pretty big, and some of them are bent at the bottom and some of them have just collapsed. And this is another view of the top of the Devil's Tower. People keep talking about giant trees all the time, and I think that we're finding other stuff other than giant trees. Now let's assume these giant forests were similar to the forests we have today, where the emergent layer would be the giant trees, and somewhere below would be the canopy layer, and below that the understory layer, and where everything ends up at the end of the day on the forest floor. So if there were giant trees, then there would have been giant fern and giant bushes. And here's a tree stump being overgrown with moss. So there was giant moss. And it looks like it covered a lot of stuff. And another thing to remember, we really don't know what this place looked like back then. to us, it was a whole other world, which we have not witnessed and have no idea what it really looked like. We can only use our imagination and speculate. These are various microscopic pictures of cross sections of various kinds of plant life, and you can see where the columns could be from. Now, hexagons are all through nature, and they touch everything. And another thing that touches everything is water. These are microscopic images of water droplets. Each of them are different. And the other thing about water, water has a memory. Japanese scientist Dr. Masaru Emoto scientifically proved through decades of research that the molecular structure of water can be altered with human intentions and emotions. Simply by saying certain words or phrases at droplets of water and freezing them, the difference in crystalline structure is astounding. Keep in mind, our bodies are about 60 to 70% water, meaning our thoughts can positively or negatively affect the entire system. At the top of this line we have Staffa, Scotland's Giant's Causeway, and at the bottom here we have the Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland. Now, there is no columns on either island in between. So is that why the legend says they are both ends of a giant bridge? This is Fingal's Cave, and you can see there's different material above these columns and below them. And I have no idea what this is made up of, but I'm convinced this is sandstone. And you see it better with this image. This just looks like compressed sand. And it looks like this is the bottom of these columns. What I'm talking about, like if they were plant life, there's no roots. This is what I'm saying. And inside here, well it'll be like a sandstone cave with hexagonal pattern on the ceiling. But there's no access to it, so there's no way I could get in. You need to go in with ropes or something. Right, so this definitely looks like sandstone to me. And it also looks like these are between these two layers. So what could they be? And this is an island just next to Staffa. This looks like a straight cut right through here. You can see they're at different angles. And so are these. But they do not look like the other hexagonal columns. They look like a different material than this. these are almost horizontal in parts. Well, they are here, and they bend right round. So what were these? And some are at an angle, and again here as well. And the other ones are vertical. And this is on the way around to Fingal's Cave. And this is that same island I showed you a minute ago. And I'll show you this a bit later. But this is the way around to the cave. And because I was delayed on the boat, I was the last to leave. But I made sure I was the first to get there, because I walked past everybody. Right, so again you can see they're jutting out at different angles, and next to some that are vertical. So I keep thinking like the forest floor, where everything's all mixed up. Right. And that's that self-same island. And they come right around to here. And they're all at the same angle. This is incredible. Now, this is a safety rail that they've created to get into Fingal's Cave. And I'm wondering, what if there's a million steps laid out right in front of you. And that's what I used. I just zipped right past everybody. Right, so this is them on their way up to grab the rail for safety. Holy shit. So this is what they've formed for a path. And that's where everybody else was walking, like, obediently. Well, I just raced around here. Past everybody. This is the entrance to Fingal's Cave on the right here. Is there any engineers watching that know what this is? I think it's something to do with being tied to the wall or something. I don't know. Right. So that's the other thing. You can see the way that these columns are breaking up. Just the way plants do. And trees. And other vegetation. And this is the same columns. And this is the roof of the ceiling of the cave. We'll maybe look at that later. Some of them fell apart. And that one's cracked as well. And this is up at the entrance. So there's the bottom of the columns, or the top of the columns at some point, and this is on top of them. So what is it? And these look again like sandstone. And this is inside the cave, and I don't know what this is on the ceiling. Actually, when I first seen it, I thought somebody had went nuts for a can of spray paint. Because it did look deliberate to me when I first seen it. I thought, what's that about? So you can see them all breaking up horizontally. falling apart. And I don't know what this stuff is on the deck. It just covers some of the top of these pillars, and it's a kind of gold colour. It really looked like gold. And I don't know what that is either. I don't know what a geologist would tell us. He obviously know the truth. And this is the safety barrier to stop you going any further into the cave. And I decided, okay, I'll stop here. But this is right inside the cave. And again, it's similar to the rest. There's something above. So I'm assuming it goes right through the island. Or at least the southern part of the island, which is higher up than the northern part of the island, you know, like it was tilted. And there's a big crack right up that column there. And I believe that's another crack up here. So this, what I'm saying, there's some of them are splitting vertically, although we see them splitting horizontally. This is also in the cave. This is me looking further in than you're allowed to go. And there's gold stuff on top of these pillars. Right. And this is red marks rather than the gold mark that's on this side, and I don't know what that's about. And this is getting back out the cave, and there's some gold right there. Because that's what it looks like at a glance, Ellen. Right, so like I say, they're splitting horizontally, but we've seen evidence there that some are actually splitting vertically. And the water is pretty clear all around the island. Right. And this is up on the ceiling. And I really did think that somebody had used the spray paint. So I don't know what kind of growth that is or what material it is. But it's all over the columns at the entrance. So whether the weather or something external causes it, I don't know. And walking back from the cave, and this is the entrance. And this is all the people obeying all the rules and sticking by the handrail up at the wall. That's that island again. It's got columns going all directions, and the columns sticking out all over the island in all different directions. This is us at the top of the island, which is not very high anyway, and here you got some columns with this other material on top. And this is a really interesting image. So what we've got here, we've got perfectly hexagonal column. Okay, they're a bit aged, but they're vertical hexagonal columns, and these are, well, pretty similar. And in between the top there's two different layers, and then we have these, which are totally different for these. And we've also got a horizontal line, like the end of these columns, as if they're all the same length. Yet at the same time we've got some sticking out here at a different angle. And over here you get the same thing. So they don't go straight through into the sandstone, is what I'm saying, as if they're sitting on top of it. And these look like different materials. And again, this looks like sandstone. Right. So like I say about the island being tilted, this is what I'm talking about. Because the other islands, there's no columns sticking out. Again, the same thing here. That's a different material for these columns. And not all the columns are not vertical, there are some popping out at different angles. And when I first seen this from a distance, I thought, wow, that looks like an aircraft carrier. Right, this is another interesting image. This is again, kind of shows this is sandstone. And this is the way round to the other cave. So maybe at some stage in the past there would have been access to that cave, but it's crumbled. So I've never found a way around. And this is also falling apart. And you can see the horizontal lines as they start to break up. And again we've got another material that looks like on the top. And more columns up here. And again there's the tops of some columns of popping out at different angles. That's a better image. So here's a couple of guys standing at the top. And these columns look a bit twisted. And these look even more twisted. So is this different for that? I don't know. Is it the same thing? Damaged more? I don't know. And a lot of the columns here have collapsed. And that's probably the best proof that it is sandstone. So they're sitting on a bed of sandstone. Literally sitting on top of sandstone. They're no sinking into it, they're no going through it, there's no roots, is what I'm saying. Again over here, different materials, and popping out at different angles. That's just the way Iceland to it, and this looks like sand. That's no doubt about that. Same thing here. And here. So what would they be if they're in between different substances, different layers? There's sandstone below them, and don't know what this is above them. But they're definitely sitting on sandstone, and they're covered with something else. That's what it looks like to me. And here again, same thing. Oh, check this out. People think that's a footprint. So this is internally on the island, inland, away from the cliffs. So they're still columns, but they don't look like the basalt columns. They look different. And there's more here. And a wee bit out of shape, but there's more there. And again, these are all twisted at all different angles, pointing in all directions. So were they crushed or something? Did something make them go that shape? So with a lot of weight, would that twist them? Again, these are breaking up horizontally. These are the same. And down here. I'm trying to think what kind of birds they are, I can't remember. Oh, this is called, this is the entrance to Clamshell Cave. And this is the steps up to the top of the island, and that's the path that takes you down to Fingal's Cave. And that's just across the road. Again, that's in layers. Well, that's a slideshow, but it was not the highlight of the day. Now, just having put a line through something that was on my bucket list, I never thought the day could get any better, but it did. Thanks for watching. Please comment.